One of my colleagues once said that bad can be measured by the lack of good, and while I find there to be merit to that statement, it also got me to thinking, can good be measured by the lack of bad? On paper, that sounds true, since why would anything considered good have a sizable amount of bad in it? But I suspect that most of you out there have had times where you've seen a movie or watched a television show that had nothing wrong with it, but it would be a stretch to call it good. In a word, we've all experienced serviceable media. Art that hits squarely in the middle of ho-hum and does what it intends to do, but in such a way that leaves no lasting impact or desire for the audience to re-experience it. And to me that can certainly be a bad thing, but not a good thing. Good is supposed to be about the presence of a defined positive, not the lack of a defined negative. These defined positives can run the gamut of being appropriately funny or sad, having memorable characters, showcasing superior direction and or acting, or simply being fun. But in the spirit of good versus bad, I feel like there should be another dimension to the definition of good. Good has the ability to overcome its deficiencies. We all know that nothing is perfect, and we all love stories and films and music and anything else under the sun, knowing full well that they have problems. For proof, look no further than the most immediate and omnipresent media empire in history, Star Wars. Half of its major entries notwithstanding, the general census is that these films are pop cultural touchstones by which generations revolve around for going on 40 years now. And yet, these are not perfect films. Performances can range from memorable to stilted, and George Lucas's infamously wooden dialogue was ever the albatross across the series' neck, even before the prequels. And the plot is your typical Joseph Campbell fluff that's about as simplistic as media theory can get. And yet, how many other films ape from what Star Wars did and failed to capture anything other than a passive interest in the audience? It's not what Star Wars did, but how it did it was what enraptured people in the first place. From the minute and easily looked over details like how characters would infer past events that hinted at a sprawling fictional universe, to the immediate and obvious, like John Williams' iconic score. You can forgive the faults of the films, or not even notice them in the first place. And that's why I like Read or Die so much. It's a good anime in spite of itself. Released between 2001 and 2002 in Japan, Read or Die is an OVA that was based on a series of manga that were based on a still ongoing series of light novels, and was brought over to the States in 2003. I briefly touched upon the sequel television series some years back when I talked about its memorable Christmas episode, but now it's time for us to sit down and examine what made Read or Die a favorite among otaku, and how it was able to cover up its less than finer qualities. This is Read or Die. The world of Read or Die is one not unlike our own, except for the fact that the British Empire is still in power and employs special agents that can magically control pieces of paper to do their bidding. Said papermaster is Yomiko Reedman, a fangirl bookworm who loves nothing more than getting lost in a story. It's fair to say that, while the anime has many and lasting appeals, none are more important or integral to its story than Yomiko's character. I don't usually say this about an anime character, especially since I'm not known for appreciating this, but I gotta come clean. Yomiko is pretty cute. And I mean that in the most endearing and sincere way possible. Oftentimes, whenever a character appears in an anime or what have you that's supposed to be cute, I find them to be more cloying than anything else.
Test audiences find me irresistible.
Well, I find you repulsive and repugnant.
It doesn't help matters that cute has become something of an industry in anime, so behavior and characteristics that could be considered adorable now just appear to be manufactured soulless pap. Yomiko, however, transcends this by being a character who happens to be cute, rather than having cute be her only characteristic.
You truly do shine when you're surrounded by books, Agent Paper.
Well, thank you, sir.
Of course, apart from that, you're rather hopeless.
Oh.
What's even more amazing to me is that on top of everything else, Yomiko is an otaku. Make no mistake, her passion might not be comics or video games, but her obsession and single-mindedness about books, which is as much pop culture as anything I've listed, are exemplary of an otaku. And unlike other riffs on the fangirl or boy archetype, the anime doesn't look down on this. She's not portrayed as being sad with her lot in life, and no one treats her badly for it.
Wait, you can't have that.
Why do you say that?
Because I'm the one who saw it first?
Maybe, but I'm the one who actually took it off the shelf first. Excuse me.
Other characters might chafe at her awkwardness, but that has less to do with her being an otaku, and more to do with the fact that she's just simply awkward. Additionally, her fangirlness not only informs herself as a character, but also as a sort of unlikely superhero. This notion of a fan-turned-superpowered being has been riffed on before, but usually in an antagonistic context, or in terms of placating the average nerd's quote-unquote superior intellect, or simply for the sake of comedy.
What about the downside of being a nerd?
What downside?
Like bad skin, for instance. An unnatural attraction to pocket protectors.
But Yomiko is unique in that what makes her a nerd, her obsession, is the source of her power, not her intelligence, which seems more trivially based instead of, say, intuitively based. She knows a lot, because she reads a lot, but she doesn't really figure anything out. In fact, she's kind of a space cadet in that way, lost in her own world and incapable of recognizing the temerity of the situation.
Please give me back my book. Please, I just started reading it.
Give it back!
But that's not to say she's ill-equipped to handle herself in a fight, or that she isn't capable of performing the missions that her agency, the British Library Special Operations Division, sends her on. She's the right balance of quirky, cute, and badass, while still being naive and flawed. You just can't help but love her.
Excuse me, could you return my book? Now, would you please give me my book back?
Not to mention the fact that her power is used ingeniously throughout the anime, making for some top-notch action scenes and fights. The prospect of having paper be at a person's command doesn't seem like a source of memorable set pieces, and yet from scene to scene the anime uses this notion to its fullest potential. Paired up with some of the best animation at the time, it's no stretch to say that Read or Die is one of the premier action anime. So it features a kick-ass and lovable heroine as well as memorable action sequences. What about its story? Well... Seems that a group of superpowered humans, the Ijin, are attempting to steal seemingly unrelated rare books from all over the world, and the British Library are determined to stop them, sending Yomiko to investigate and protect these priceless treasures. After foiling an attempt to steal a German book, Yomiko is assigned to America to probe into an Ijin attack on the Library of Congress, meeting another British Library agent, Miss Kitty Pryde. Oh, wait, I mean Miss Deep.
It's nice to work with you.
Right. Did you
Now, it's all well and good to pair up a nebbish, childlike woman with a smoldering, breathy temptress, but it doesn't end there.
You're okay. I was so afraid you weren't gonna wake up. You've been sleeping for 2 days.
I've been asleep for that long. And you're okay.
I'm glad you're awake.
Anime lingers on growing connection between Miss Deep and Yomiko, suggesting relationship that goes beyond platonic, possibly homosexual. Must remember to investigate further.
Though the anime never explicitly states that there's anything more than just friendship between the two, it does quite a job in suggesting that there's romantic tension, and sometimes it does even more than just suggest. But in all honesty, I love the back and forth between Yomiko and Miss Deep, as she loosens her cold guard and eventually lets Yomiko in. But what about the Ijin, I hear you ask? Why do they want these books so badly, and who are they? Sadly, this is where the anime kind of stumbles. I'm just going to come out and say it, the Ijin are clones of historical figures given superpowers, for some reason, and they are gathering these books because hidden among their pages are a lost symphony that Beethoven wrote that makes anyone who hears it commit suicide.
'Cause you had a bad day, you're taking one down, you sing a sad
what we call in the business a gimme. Why do they want such a piece of music? Because they want to broadcast it worldwide and eliminate the human race, because their leader hates humanity. Okay, lots to unpack here, so let's take this one thing at a time. First, who cloned these guys? Well, we never find out in the OVA. We do find out in the sorta sequel television series that it was most likely Dokusensha, a Chinese agency that is ever the thorn in the British Library's side, who were strangely left out of the OVA with nary a name drop. See, they stole DNA samples of said historical figures from the British Library, I guess to thwart their efforts to give their leader, Mr. Gentleman, a cloned body to live on in. Well, okay, I get why they wanted to steal these samples, but why did they clone them? And more to the point, if they cloned them, does that mean they intended for them to kill the world? What would be the point of that? So I guess that means these clones went rogue, somehow, and then they decided to carry on Beethoven's plans to play his Symphony of Destruction that was written into disparate books for seemingly no reason. Second question. Who are these guys? The leader of the Ijin is Ikkyu Sojun, who was a Zen Buddhist monk that lived in Japan in the 15th century. His cohorts are Genai Hiraga, an 18th century scientist, Jean-Henri Faber, a 19th century entomologist, Otto Lilienthal, a 19th century glider aviator, Stephen Wilcox, a 19th century American inventor, and Genjo Sanzo, the guy from Sayuki?
Genjo was a monk from the 7th century. He traveled from China to India to retrieve a sacred Buddhist scroll. He's also the basis for the novel Sayuki.
So he's Xuanzang, the guy who inspired the novel Journey to the West, which in turn inspired Sayuki. Well, if that's true, then why is his name Genjo Sanzo and not Xuanzang? Okay, so you have the ability to clone anyone of historical significance, and you brought back from the dead a French entomologist and an American inventor whose main claim to fame was co-inventing the water tube boiler. Not Albert Einstein, not Confucius, not Nobunaga, these putzes. Third, is cloning just supposed to be like working a human photocopier? So you got all of these people's DNA from robbing their graves, and you somehow cloned them, and they either immediately grew to the age of when they presumably died, or they managed to duplicate them to the exact moment they died. Not only that, they also somehow worked it so that they retained all of their memories and abilities of their past life, because, as we all know, that's totally stored in our DNA and not, our brains.
Don't you fucking look at me!
Okay, maybe the cloning process didn't exactly duplicate their personalities, hence why everyone is on board with this plan to wipe out humanity, including Beethoven himself. Jesus, you fucked up when DC, of all things, writes a more realistic clone story than you. At least they knew that cloning Batman wouldn't necessarily mean the clone will become Batman, even though he fucking did. Finally, did Beethoven intend to write a symphony that made everyone kill themselves? Or was this simply a Monty Python World's Funniest Joke kind of situation? It's a good thing Beethoven's deaf, otherwise he'd be killing himself right now. Shit, even when he's cloned and given superpowers, Beethoven still couldn't hear a grenade in an echo chamber. Oh, wait, hold on. Does that mean that the other millions and millions of deaf people on Earth won't kill themselves either? No, wait. If Beethoven wrote it and knows how to play it, and he knows what it sounds like, why doesn't he kill himself? How does this work? By now, I think you all figured out where Read or Die trips all over itself. The plot is just amazingly stupid. From the villain's background needing an entire television series just to explain where the hell they came from, to their plan that makes no sense whatsoever, Read or Die's story is, at best, a dumb vehicle for its characters to interact and fight. But, as I said, the characters and the action are all top-notch, so I guess I can't really fault it for doing its job? As with most of my positive reviews, I've avoided a plot point by plot point rundown so as to avoid spoilers for people who haven't seen this yet, because I want people to see this. It's a dyed-in-the-wool classic action anime with memorable characters, exciting scenes, and a perfectly orchestrated score to hold it all together. The story might be, to put it kindly, not very well thought out, but at least it moves along at a great clip and you're never left stewing in its more idiotic moments. It's fun, it's fast, it's everything a good action anime needs to be. Put this on the watch list right now. Well, continuing our theme of championing anime, I think it's high time we take a look at a film that, quite frankly, deserved better treatment than what we originally gave it. Till next time.
Long live your Lord High Regent Sage! Long live Benetopia!